Wanted to hit a few other issues before I get to the things that I had prepared for today. One of the things that I just want us to have a thought exercise about, Kevin McCarthy, who is the Speaker of the House of Representatives, he has been pushed or demanded upon by the Republicans in the House, or at least a significant number of the Republicans in the House. They have demanded that he launch articles of impeachment against President Joe Biden. Not just an impeachment inquiry. You know, this is a framework that the Republicans have put together to try to make it appear as if they're doing something that they're really not doing. They've been engaged in an impeachment inquiry for at least 9 months, maybe 10 months. They've been engaged in an impeachment inquiry. What is an impeachment inquiry? You've been using the powers of the investigative committees of the House of Representatives to try to find out whether or not President Biden did something wrong, or whether Biden's son did something wrong, and that the president signed off on something wrong that Hunter Biden did. That's an impeachment inquiry. That's what they've been doing all the time. So to claim now that they want to launch an impeachment inquiry is disingenuous, because they've been claiming week in and week out, month in and month out for the past year that Joe Biden has done these terrible things. We have all this evidence. Every time they get called on producing the evidence, they never have the evidence. They called on, they say they have witnesses. Then when they call the witnesses disappear. they go into, mafioso hiding and whatnot, right? And so on. So that tells you that they've been basically creating a dust storm where there was no dust, just to give the people who they are signifying to the impression that, yeah, I knew that Joe Biden was no good. He's been Mr. Wonderful Conservative, his whole life. All of a sudden now he's a no good, horrible person and so on. But they're basically creating this dust storm to signify to their so-called base that they've got the goods on Joe Biden and Joe Biden's son. Here's the upswing on this. Apparently, Matthew Gaetz, Republican congressman from Florida, what's her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Bobek, and so on. This brand or component of or faction of the Republican Party in the House, they have insisted that they're saying an impeachment inquiry be done. But they really don't want an impeachment inquiry. What they really want is for the House to vote on articles of impeachment. So because the impeachment inquiry doesn't do anything at all, in terms of their goal, which is to gain revenge against the Democrats because the Democrats impeached Donald Trump twice. I want us to understand something. If I rob a bank on Monday and you got evidence that I robbed a bank, and then I came back on Thursday and I robbed another bank, does that mean you get to indict me the following Monday because I robbed two banks? So you get to at least rob one? Is that the rationale that we're operating from right now?
Wow.
Now, I say this, I know that there's a political perspective in this, but there were literally 1,000 documents evidencing in the first impeachment inquiry that Donald Trump and his campaign were in collusion with Vladimir Putin and agents of Russia to manipulate the 2016 presidential election to get Donald Trump into office. Vladimir Putin admitted it. He said, yes, I'm for Donald Trump. Yes, I did things to help Donald Trump get elected. Absolutely. This is not something that you have to guess about. This is on the people who did the crime admitted to the crime. So you were supposed to have articles of impeachment for doing something like that, because it is illegal for you to be a foreign entity and be manipulating an election in the United States. That's illegal. Then the second impeachment, we saw it on tape. You saw the video and you actually heard it with your own ears. Donald Trump sitting with Zelensky, Vladimir Zelensky, sitting with him. Donald Trump says to the man, "Listen, all I want is for you to, to do me a favor, do me a turn. I just need, something on, Joe Biden." And I know you guys can do that. I just need for you to launch an investigation. You don't even have to have the goods. Now he says this on video. I just need for you to launch an investigation so that I could say to the American public, we're investigating Joe Biden, who's running for president, for collusion with Ukraine to commit bribery, embezzlement, whatever it is they were trying to accuse Burisma, which is the oil company that Hunter Biden was involved with, to accuse them of crimes and high crimes and misdemeanors. That's what Donald Trump did, and he did it on tape. That is, whole bunches of other evidence of other crimes that Donald Trump committed in the course of this initiative. The point I'm making is you have evidence that he committed a crime in 2016, and so you investigated him and charged him for committing those crimes. He committed crimes in 2020. Crimes, outright crimes. You investigated him for committing those crimes and impeached him for committing those crimes.
Wow.
Where's the crime that Joe Biden committed? Is his crime that he has a son who was a dope addict, who apparently acquired a gun legally or maybe illegally? He acquired a gun and possessed it while he was still on record as being a drug user, which apparently is a whole other, crime. The only thing that they've been able to draw down as an actual crime they could charge Joe Biden's son with is tax evasion. Now, let's not sleep tax evasion. Al Capone got 14 years, okay, for evading taxes, right? Yes, so let's not act like that's a punk, crime. That's not a punk crime. You can do a lot of time for evading taxes. I know, because I got a bill, that I didn't expect to get. They said that I didn't do my taxes correctly, and they sent me not only a bill for taxes that they said I didn't pay, but they sent me a fine on top of the bill. So how can you fine me for something you haven't even, adjudicated with me yet? But guess what I did? I wrote my check that day, sent the check in. Now I went and sent my lawyers and whatnot at them to try to, to get it back and to have my fees paid for by them. That's a whole other saga and whatnot. It took me 2 years to go through all of that. But I paid the bill first. Then I went to rumble about it, because I knew if I didn't pay the bill, it was just going to keep getting bigger, and they'd wind up coming at me for, some of my time, in prison. And I don't do prison time. I'm not that guy. Okay. If that makes me sound like a sissy, okay, then put me down in the book on the first line. Okay.
Yeah, they can put us all down for that.
I'm not trying to go to jail, right?
That's right.
So, but my point is that the Republicans are basically on a revenge tour.
Yeah.
Because Donald Trump wants it. He says they impeached me twice, like they just did it, for no reason whatsoever. Like it was illegitimate that he was being investigated for crimes that they produced mountains of evidence that he committed, just as he's committed crimes now. Since the November 3rd of 2020 presidential election, he's committed mountains of crimes since that time.
Yeah.
And they have all kinds of records of the crimes and the conspiracies, that he engaged in and so on. Now, they don't put everything in, the indictments, right? You just try to narrow down, they hired Jack Smith, who has been working for the Department of Justice for a long time, but they hired him because of his credentials in working on foreign cases, and hired him to become the special counsel to investigate whether Donald Trump and his minions were engaging in illegal electioneering, manipulating, the election, actually trying to change the election results.
Oh, yeah.
Now, are we guessing that Donald Trump tried to change the election results? Is that something that we surmised?
No, sir.
We saw some tea leaves on the ground and we started spreading them out and said, oh, that looks like, Donald Trump was trying to get them to change the results of the election. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being it on tape, where Donald Trump says, all I need. We talked about this.
Oh, yes, sir.
All I just need to find 11,781, and he hesitated, votes. And that's the part that we heard.
Yeah.
This was a 45-minute to an hour-long meeting. In this meeting, he did this over and over and over, at least 15 times in the meeting. He came at these people about, there's 5 million votes that were cast, in Georgia. You mean to tell me you can't find me 11,781 votes out of 5 million votes that were cast? It's on tape, this is done with witnesses, 30 witnesses. This was done. So that's what people need to understand in processing what is going on right now. The Republicans just want to, and they promised this. They promised this in 2019 in the first impeachment articles of impeachment that were drawn down against Donald Trump. They said, well, you guys are going to pay a price for this. A day is going to come when we're going to be in charge of the House of Representatives and we're going to impeach your president. Now, impeachment is charging somebody with something.
Right.
If you don't have anything to charge a person with, you can't charge them. But the Republicans say, nope, that's not true. What we're charging you with is not being a Republican. You're a Democrat, and we're charging you with being a Democrat. And we're just going to, paint some stuff on the, put some stuff on the canvas and make it look like, you did something. That's what this is really all about.
Exactly.
It's important for the public to understand the context of all of this, okay? This is not about, do you like Joe Biden or do you not like Joe Biden? It's not about do you like Donald Trump or do you not like Donald Trump? Do you like Democrats or not like Democrats? It's not about that. This is about right and wrong. And in this circumstance, all you have against Joe Biden that is material is that he owned a gun and had it in his home during a time period that he was being treated for drug abuse. That's illegal. That's true. What do people who have done that in the past, what has been the sentences that they've gotten for that conduct? For the most part, they got probation or a suspended sentence, or they paid a fine. Very few people do any time. If they do, it's less than 3 months. That's that part of it. On the tax evasion stuff, Biden paid the taxes. Now, okay, it was wrong if you say that he didn't do his taxes correctly, that he ducked or he used provisions in the tax law that didn't exist, or whatever you say he did, he owed more taxes than he paid. If that's the case, he did pay those taxes.
He paid the taxes.
In a lump sum. He didn't say put me on a payment plan.
Yeah.
He paid it in a lump sum.
Which I'm sure Trump hasn't paid probably any of his taxes.
Trump still owes taxes from 1991.
I believe it.
Okay.
I believe it.
Remember that, all during the course of the 2015, 2016, presidential election hunt, Trump kept telling people that, well, I can't tell you anything about my taxes because they're being audited. So what about back in 1990? Those are being audited too.
Wow.
26 years later, they're still auditing you.
Mr. Hare, how come he's never been arrested on these charges?
Because the people in this country who are in power in this country feel that it would create more problems than it would solve if you arrested him for what they had him on the hook for. Remember how people look at this thing. If you were walking around with a